Hey folks, this is Rhykker, bringing you a Diablo 3 2.3 monk build that makes use of the new Shenlong's set. Now this build is on the PTR, the public test realm. Changes may still come, so be sure to check back in the future and when patch 2.3 releases to see how this build may be altered or improved. The great thing about this build is that it's a generator build. It revolves around a primary attack, and this is thanks to the Shenlong's set bonuses. Every point of spirit that you have increases the damage of your generators by 1%. Now you can easily have close to 300 total spirit, so that translates into 300% additional damage, which is quadruple damage. But that's not all. When you reach max spirit, all of your damage is increased by 300%, and then your spirit quickly drains. So the key to this build is to maximize the amount of time you spend in that window of opportunity where your damage is increased by 300%. And fortunately, since you're attacking with generators, simply continuing to attack will keep you in that window. Now let's take a look at the skills. First off, this is a fire build, so the generator that we're using is Crippling Wave Mangle. This deals a good amount of damage, and it does so in an area, as opposed to just hitting a single target. Now next we have Dashing Strike Blinding Speed. Unlike the typical ping pong monk build, Dashing Strike is not our main attack. This is simply a mobility skill and a defensive skill. We're picking this rune in order to gain that dodge chance. For our mantra, we're going with Mantra of Salvation Agility. This gives us some nice survivability. Next, no surprise, we're taking Epiphany Desert Shroud. This is just an amazing skill to pop whenever those big fights come around. Next, Inner Sanctuary Forbidden Palace. Again, not breaking any ground here. This is just a terrific power all around. It's both offensive and defensive. And lastly, we have Cyclone Strike Implosion. You would typically see Breath of Heaven in this slot in a ping pong monk build, but we will actually have a lot of life on hit thanks to a high attack speed and the Simplicity Strength gem, which we'll get to in a bit. But Cyclone Strike is great for triggering our Focus and Restraint set bonuses, which again we'll get to, and it helps group up our enemies so that they can be hit by Crippling Wave. As for our passives, Near Death Experience is going to save you in those higher greater rifts. Harmony, all around a great defensive monk passive. Beacon of Etar will help us pop Epiphany that much more often, and Seize the Initiative is going to help us get our attack speed even higher. Now, if you're playing multiplayer and or have a 5th passive thanks to a Hellfire Amulet, Unity will give you a nice damage buff, and Alacrity is also a great option. It ultimately comes down to how defensive you want to be versus how offensive you want to be. You can even drop Near Death Experience to opt for Alacrity or Unity if you were just, say, doing speed grifts and not really trying to push for the highest grift you can, because this build actually has some really good survivability. Onto our items. We were talking about survivability. As you can see, 59 million toughness. I'm accustomed to running glass cannons. I generally have less than 1/10 of this toughness on, say, a Demon Hunter, so this monk is able to tank. Now the items we want to get here, we want to combine a number of sets. Of course, we need Shenlong set. Then we want the 2-piece bonus from the Raiment of 1,000 Storm set. That's going to give a buff to our generator's attack speed and damage. And then to round things up, we're going to opt for Inna's set. We want that 4-piece bonus. We want all the mantras, and we want the base effect of the mantra doubled. Oh, and of course, Focus and Restraint. How could I forget? Now, if we're talking about what items you want to put in your cube, a Flying Dragon is really going to help you get your attack speed high up there. Depth Diggers are going to make your primaries deal even more damage. And then for your gem slot, if you're playing solo, go with a Unity. This way you can put another Unity on your follower along with the invulnerability token, and that basically doubles your toughness. Alternatively, if you want to be more offensive, or if you're playing in a group, you can go with the Band of the Root Chambers in order to increase your spirit generation. That's going to help keep you in that window that we were talking about, that Shenlong window of 300% increased damage. But you can also opt for a Convention of Elements for just a flat damage buff, but I think all around, the Band of the Root Chambers will net you more damage. The best amulet for this build would be a well-rolled Hellfire Amulet. You could go with an Immunity Amulet, but really, given there's so many inviting passives, having the option to take an additional passive is almost indispensable. If you can't get a good Hellfire, even though in patch 2.3 it is much easier to get a good Hellfire, then you can go with an Immunity Amulet. As for Bracers or Belt, there are no must-have items. And also, as for the specific item slots for head, shoulders, gloves, chest, pants, and boots, it doesn't really matter where you put the set items. You just want to make sure that you have the 2-piece bonus from Raiment of a Thousand Storms and the 4-piece bonus from Inna's. So something you can even do would be to wear Inna's belt and then get some Mage Fist gauntlets. That's going to increase your damage even more. Or you can swap out your chest for a Cinder Coat, which would be even more valuable than the Mage Fists. As for your legendary gems, you want Simplicity Strength. That'll give you a little more damage, but more importantly, once you get it to level 25, it's going to give you a good amount of life on hit, especially considering how quickly you will be attacking. Esoteric Alteration is a nice defensive option, and then Bane of the Trapped is indispensable to increasing your damage. As you can see, this playstyle can easily handle a 45 Grift, which is equivalent to T10, and I've had next to no practice with this build. This was my first attempt at a 45. The gear can be optimized, the playstyle can be optimized, and I've seen Grifts in the low to mid 60s pushed with builds that revolve around Shenlongs. As for what stats you want on your gear, standard rules apply, except we also want attack speed. Attack speed does benefit this build. You won't opt for attack speed over critical hit chance or critical hit damage, but fit it in wherever else you can. Now I'll repeat, this is on the PTR, so everything is subject to change, so do check back in the future to see if we have any updates to this build. That wraps up this guide. Thanks for watching. Leave me a comment letting me know what your favorite monk build is. Check out these other videos, and if you enjoyed this one, share with friends, leave a comment, hit like, and subscribe to join Rhykker's Raiders.
Be done. The storm breaks. I don't have enough spirit. I will not do that. What you ask is impossible. I will not do that.